Alright, what's up guys? In today's video, we're taking a look at what is the best close range weapon to pair with your long range AR right now in Warzone. We're going to take a look at their best overall class setup, which is going to give us their range, their bullet velocity, their recoil, and their overall mobility, and their time to kill, and compare all those stats head to head to tell you guys what is the best close range meta weapon right now. If you guys learned anything in the videos help you out, please leave a like, leave a comment down below what is your favorite weapon of these 5. Then also, if you guys are new to the channel and you have not subscribed, hit the subscribe button down below if you want to see more content like this. So the first things first, obviously, to give us the best overall stats, we're going to take with their best class setup, which you guys will see on the screen. Pretty much Task Force, Tiger Team, and Raider Pad is going to give us the best mobility. On a couple of the guns, we use the agency suppressor to improve our range, like the XM4 lacks in range, so we add that. And the FFAR has the best recoil, so adding the agency helps the overall recoil. Obviously, 45 round mag with the AS-VAL. The big negative only has a 30-round mag and doesn't have a long barrel, which improves the recoil as well. But it's still an excellent weapon. Time to kill wise, it absolutely shreds. So we're going to take a look at first is obviously, like I said, their range, recoil, bullet velocity, mobility, and then their damage and how all those numbers affect the time to kill. So as you guys can see on the screen, this is the overall recoil pattern tested at 7.5 meters, which is pretty close. We have the AS-VAL, FFAR, XM4, AK, and the FFAR on the right. The clear absolute standout here is going to be the FFAR. This is with a 45 round mag. The stability is incredible, and the vertical recoil is about half of that of the AK and the FFAR, which is what makes it excellent. XM4 is a close second, and the AS-VAL has a 30 bullet mag, and it still has more recoil than that of the FFAR and the XM4, but the stabilization is pretty okay. As you guys can see with the AK and the FFAR, they do have a lot of vertical recoil. For me personally, I think the stabilization in the AK is a little bit better than the FFAR. So as far as overall recoil, obviously the FFAR is in an absolute class of its own as king. XM4 is a close second. And the next stat you guys will see on the screen is the base overall time to kill and the base range of each of the weapons. The one thing you will notice is the AS-VAL does have the best range and does have the fastest time to kill by a long shot, which is what makes the gun very, very competitive. The FFAR and the FFAR do have a good overall range, but do have the slowest time to kill. Then the AK and the XM4 are on the very, very low end for range, but the AK time to kill wise is the fastest. So when you go through and take a look at the best class setup and then take a look at that range and the velocity, the AS-VAL is on the extreme low end, only at 450 bullet velocity, which is extremely low. And the FFAR and the XM4 both have the agency suppressor, have a very good velocity, which does affect your overall time to kill by a lot. So what you guys will see on the screen, this is the base range of the XM4 is the 27 meters, which is going to allow us to establish how the bullet velocity affects your overall time to kill at that range. So what you guys will see is the AS-VAL base time to kill is about 407. At 27 meters is killing at about 470 milliseconds, which is about a 16% drop in overall time to kill, which is a huge negative. With the FFAR, obviously, it has a lower time to kill than that of the AK, even though their velocity is the same. So you do get a little bit more of a loss in time to kill, which is why the AK having a fast time to kill helps the overall velocity, because the time to kill is faster, which means even though the bullet velocity is less, it's still just going to kill faster and not have as big a loss as the FFAR. Then obviously the XM4 having the best velocity helps improve the overall time to kill and helps keep it extremely low, which is a positive for the XM4. And then the next thing we're going to be taking a look at why these guns are currently meta is their overall mobility. With that XM4 class setup, it has the second fastest ADS speed, has the fastest movement speed, the fastest strafe speed, and has an extremely fast reload time. So all the things for the XM4 are in green, which you guys can see. With that Tiger Team Spotlight, that Raider Pad, and that Task Force having a 74% strafe speed, there's only 2 guns in the game, which is the MAC-10 and the QBZ, which are both the mobility kings, that the XM4 is slower than, and that is what makes it king. So your shooting move speed, your strafe speed, your movement with the XM4 is just as good, if not better than a lot of the SMGs, which is what makes it incredible. Then it has a pretty okay reload time. The one thing with the AK, it's a very close second. The movement is slightly less, strafe speed is slightly less, but it does reload faster and has a slightly slower ADS speed, which is still what makes it very competitive. The only real standout here in the mobility category is obviously the FFAR. The ADS was nerfed pretty hard, which has the slowest ADS. Then with the FFAR, to get a fast ADS, you have to get a slow reload, and to get a faster reload, you have to get a slower ADS. So if you run either the 45 round mag or a regular 45 mag, you're going to trade off reload time for ADS, which I think ADS is probably a little bit more important as far as for the close range. And then obviously with that AS value, you guys see straight speed, movement speed, because the Modern Warfare weapon is on the extreme low end for an assault rifle, but still okay for the close range. So that's pretty much it for the mobility. The next most important thing to look at is the damage, because this is where there's also a big discrepancy. What you guys will see on the screen, this is the damage per mag stat, which I think is important. The AS val only has a 30 round mag, but does 37 damage, which is the second most. Does about 1100 damage per mag, which is okay. You can get about 4 downs, but obviously if you down someone trying to thirst, your downs is going to go down a little bit less. The one big standout you here will see here is the AK. Does 43 damage with the same amount of ammo as the FFAR and the XM4. Does 500 more damage than all of the other guns and 800 more than that of the AS val, which that number alone gives you 2 extra kills, which is what makes the AK the best gun damage-wise. So we're going to take a look next. The most important stat is the overall time to kill and how those ranges and all these time to kills, including headshots and a couple of the guns, affects it, to show you guys which is actually the best overall weapon. So what you guys will see on the screen is the overall time to kill chart. Clearly the AS val is an absolute and utter king. The one factor, like I said, is doing 1100 damage. The gun is not practical in trios or quads, because by the time you down 1 or 2 people, you're going to be out of ammo. This is a god gun in solos and duos. The reason I wanted to include it in this video is for this chart alone. It kills 200 milliseconds faster than all the other guns besides the AK. And that is what makes the gun insane. If you're using solos, duos, playing one-on-one, if you guys watch, currently Nick Merckx is running PKM AS val for like last 2 weeks. He used the AS val because it shreds. If you get into a 1-on-1 fight, this gun will kill faster than any gun in the game, which is this chart right here explains and shows why the AS val is included and so dominant. The one thing you'll notice though is with the FFAR and the FFAR, they're about equal. The one big bonus of the FFAR is it does 27 damage, and then in its second range it does 25. So no matter what, it's going to be a 10-shot kill, which is what makes it maintain the same time to kill throughout the entire kill. So when the AK drops off about 29 meters, the FFAR is now the fastest killing gun. But as I said, we're looking for the close range weapon. The AK is definitely the fastest killing gun for the close range meta, and this is the reason why a lot of the pros are using it, because the gun shreds, has good mobility, and has the highest damage. When you factor in the headshots, this is where the FFAR and the FFAR do get a huge improvement, and the reason I did include them in this video is because they go from about 600 down to 530, which now makes them competitive with the AK while having better accuracy and better range than that of the AK, which makes, you guys can see, for about 5 meters beyond that, they now kill just as fast as the AK, and the FFAR kills exactly the same beyond the base range as the AK, which makes these guns extremely competitive. And the XM4 is now the slowest killing weapon, but when you factor in the mobility, the XM4 was obviously the king, and then it requires 2 headshots to lower the time to kill, which takes it from 582 to 499. So the XM4 with 2 headshots will kill faster than the AK. Like I said, the AK has good range, fast time to kill, good damage, but does require at least 3 headshots to lower the time to kill, which means 50% of your shots have to be headshots to lower that time to kill, which is obviously not as practical. To get a headshot improvement, the FFAR and the FFAR definitely make it extremely competitive. The XM4 might be competitive because it takes 2 out of 8 headshots to improve, which is only 25% versus the 50% of the AK. Like I said, time to kill wise, you guys can see the AS val 100% stands out and is 100% a top tier viable weapon in solos or duos. So basically, when you go to wrap it up and you want to take a look at what is obviously the best overall gun, like I said, the AK and the XM4 are the most popular. So we're going to take a look and we're going to compare those 2 guns head to head. So as I said, you guys will see the class setup on the screen. For me personally, I do like the iron sights of the AK. I know a lot of people prefer the red dot, but I think the Spetsnaz grip, which improves your overall recoil, will help make it more competitive. So obviously you guys know I showed you the class setups: Agency, Task Force, Tiger Team, Raider, 45 round mag. You do want the 45 round mag because on both these guns, the 60 round mag will lower your ADS by 50 milliseconds, which will definitely slow you down a lot. The biggest difference with the AK is you are not using the muzzle, you're using a grip to help improve your overall recoil. So when you go through and put all their stats, which you guys will see on the screen, you have the overall time to kill up to what range. The AK kills faster, has better range, and has a faster reload, but does take more headshots to lower the time to kill. So with the XM4, the reason it's better, has better velocity, has better recoil, faster ADS, faster movement, faster straight speed, and requires less headshots. So the reason I think this matters is because the AK is also an AR and the XM4 is an AR, which you're most likely be stacking with a Kilo or an AMAX. The XM4 has better mobility for the close range, which in my opinion is what makes it better. Then the velocity is much better, which helps keep the time to kill lower, which is definitely going to help. The range is about identical. The reload is similar. Like I said, the mobility and the accuracy overall of the XM4 is more like an SMG, which is why I think it's the best close range meta weapon right now, in my personal opinion, because mobility is just godly and the time to kill is very competitive with SMGs. The only gun that kills faster, I think, is like the Bullfrog and the PPSH, and then obviously the MP5s. So it's going to kill faster than your LC-10. It's going to kill faster than your MAC-10. It's going to kill faster than your 74U. 3 of the other popular SMGs, which makes it very competitive. As far as what makes the AK the second best close range weapon, the time to kill is unmatched. 500 milliseconds. The only gun that competes with that is obviously the AMAX. And the damage is godly. And when you stack that class setup to give you the best mobility, it's just as competitive as the XM4. The one reason I have the FFAR ranked as the 3rd most popular, has a good range, good velocity, requires 1 headshot to lower the time to kill, and the accuracy is in a class of its own. The gun will not miss, which the XM4 and the AK might. So the FFAR does what these other 2 guns don't. Has good velocity, good range, and good accuracy, which these other 2 guns don't have. So that's what makes the FFAR easily the 3rd best weapon. Like I said, these stats here made me realize the AS-Val is actually extremely good and definitely a top tier competitive weapon if you can keep it under that 20 meters. As soon as you go beyond 20 meters, your time to kill starts to fall off and definitely will lower with that overall bullet velocity that it has. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys learned something new, like I said, please leave a like, leave a comment down below, AK or XM4. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you.